YNA is a podcast that focuses on mental health and other aspects relating to what goes on inside of a person's head. We are by no means professionals in this field and only aim to make these conversations about mental health easier for the listener. Nothing we say or talk about is professional advice unless explicitly mentioned. If you seek professional advice or experience symptoms of an actual mental disorder, please contact a professional or visit your closest center for behavioral health. You are not alone.
What's up, guys? Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you're looking for more of our content and merch information, be sure to check us out at ynamentalhealth.org. Keep an eye out for our skits and upcoming episode information. Feel free to reach out to us on IG. Our DMs are always open. And please remember, you're not alone.
Hello. Welcome back to YNA Mental Health. My name is Sina Balouch. I am the host for YNA Mental Health. Now, this episode is focused on something that we all deal with, but we rarely talk about: anger. The focus of this episode is not to just tell you what anger is and where it comes from, but the focus of this episode is to tell you how to manage your anger. Now, this is something that a lot of people struggle with, so if this is something that you're going through, I want to remind you that you're not alone. We all struggle with anger, but we need to realize that anger can destroy our relationships, it can destroy our own selves, and it can end up hurting us rather than helping us. So, let's dive in. What is anger? Anger is an emotional response to a real or imagined threat. That means sometimes we're reacting to something that is actually happening, or other times something that is continuously going on in our head that we're imagining. So, why do we get angry? We get angry because it allows us and figure out what the danger is and how to handle it. When you become angry, your body creates cortisol, which then goes throughout your body and creates adrenaline, which gets you the hot and heavy feeling that we all struggle with. There's a difference, though, between anger, which is an internal emotion, and aggression, which is an external behavior. But here's the kicker: not all anger is bad. Now, I want to ask you this. Do you get angry easily? These could be some signs that you do get angry easily. Frequent irritability, trouble calming down, and regret after becoming angry and destroying or having a bad emotional response to something. Why are some people angrier than others? Psychologists have said that some people struggle with a low frustration tolerance. That means that sometimes the littlest of inconveniences can hurt us. And this could be something like someone cutting you in line, someone making a mistake, or you feeling deeply unjust. It's not that we're bad people, it's just our emotional volume dial is much lower. Here are some background factors that could be causing the anger or where it's stemming from: childhood trauma, parental behavior, environmental stressors, or just a mental health disorder. So let me ask you, when was the last time you got angry? Fear, shame, embarrassment that caused anger? That's something that we really need to address, because usually our anger stems from something. It's not that we're feeling this rage within us. It's that we're either sad, embarrassed, ashamed, or we're hurt. So my question is it healthy to let it out? I did a lot of research on this, and I found some really cool things that I wanted to share with you. So you've probably heard, just let it all out, or vent your anger. But research shows that doing that will actually make it worse. I want to challenge you and let you know that venting can actually increase your anger. when we talk about things, especially when we're in the moment of feeling the anger, when we're going through it, it can actually add on to the anger that you're feeling. So letting go of steam could be good for the short term, but for the long term, it can actually hurt you. Research suggests letting off steam while thinking about your anger is not a healthy strategy and may intensify and prolong experiences of anger. This is from the Greater Good Science Center. So, what is the answer? Sina, you're telling me that if I vent, I'm not going to get or feel better. If I try to find ways to let off steam, it's just going to make things worse. So how do I address something that it seems like there is no answer to? What works? Studies show that arousal decreasing activities, things that calm your nervous system, are effective across many groups. Here are some ways to manage your anger: mindfulness, meditation, breathing exercise, or ball sports. Yes, things like baseball, basketball, football have been proven that to help your anger. It's actually really funny to say, but you would think that cardio is something that could decrease your anger. Research shows that cardio actually increases anger. But Sina, you're saying that ball sports, isn't that cardio? Isn't that something that increases my heart rate? Yes, it is. But the focus of when you're just running, you're in your head, you're able to be in that space by yourself. When you do a ball sport, you're able to focus your attention on something else. You're able to focus your attention on something that can actually help distract you. Now, I know a lot of people have said that distraction is the key to anger management, but the real key to anger management is mindfulness. This is something that is extremely hard to master, but it's not something that you should be afraid of. Mindfulness, in particular, has a ripple effect. Not only does it help you regulate your anger, it helps the people around you too. Mindfulness is the practice of being in the present moment. That can be really hard for a lot of people, especially when our thoughts are raging through our head when we're angry. Now, that could be really difficult. So, how can we address anger in one of those moments? I want to ask you this. On a scale from 1 to 10, how often do you feel irritated during the week? That number might say more than you think. Rather than just trying to control this impulse, mindfulness helps decrease your desire to cause harm in the first place. We can practice mindfulness right now. I want you to sit there and I want you to feel your toes. Wiggle them. Feel your fingers. Feel present in your body right now. I'm going to give you a second to feel your emotion. Now that you have felt what it feels like to be in the present moment, how do we address it when we're angry? I was reading this book from the Gottman Institute. It's How to Fight Right. And it's a book that basically explains to couples how to fight right. And so in this book, they describe reflection and taking a pause. I know, I've been there. It's really, really hard to pause and reflect in a very angry situation, especially if someone just cut you off or made a small mistake that hurt you. How do you address that? How do you stop yourself and pause and try to address the emotions that are going through your body when you're feeling all of this rage. You need to be able to practice it, right? So when you get angry, I want you to practice pausing. I want you to sit there and even do a hand motion. My hand motion is an X across my body. That resonates and tells other people that, hey, I need a break. I know a break can be hard to do, but what if that break saves you from saying something that you don't mean? A lot of the times when we're angry, we do things that it feels like we're not doing them. It's somebody else who's hurting whatever or however the other person is reacting to it. When you're in a fight, when you're screaming at somebody, it can be very difficult to just stop. And this is where practice is so important, right? So if we can practice just stopping and pausing and being mindful and being in the moment, we can allow ourselves to reflect and to stop us from hurting or reacting in a bad way. What's worse is trying to apologize or trying to figure out how you can repair something after everything that you just said. A lot of people, we get in a position of, if I just say it to them, if I vent it to them, if I yell at them harder, they'll understand, they'll get it more. And I want to remind you, in these moments, it's not something that you can just turn around and repair right away, right? Sometimes we need to process our emotions. Sometimes we need to process what we're feeling and thinking and then come back to our emotion. So this is why it's so important to take a pause. I had always believed that taking a pause or walking out and taking a break would never helped me. But I started practicing it. I started being more mindful and understanding that, hey, it's okay. Would you rather say something that you don't mean, or would you rather take a break and come back to the conversation? Now, sometimes you can't take a break or you can't pause a conversation because it's so heated. What do we do then? I encourage you to figure out how to manage and not suppress the emotion. I need you to figure out what to do with this feeling. I always recommend to feel your emotions. Feel them through your body. Tell me where you're feeling it. Are you feeling it in your head? Are you feeling it in your chest? Where is the anger coming from? Okay, so now we've identified where the anger is coming from. I'm feeling it in my chest. My chest is feeling way too tight. That's a sign of thing. Now, what is flooding? Flooding is exactly what you think it is. Imagine you have a brick wall up, and behind that brick wall is a massive pool of water. Once you pull a brick, the water starts leaking through, and once you pull more bricks, the water just floods. And that's where anger becomes such a problem. We flood ourselves with all these emotions and we can't think straight. I think my problem has always been that my mind becomes fuzzy and I start to try to say things that don't make any sense and I'm not even connecting them in my head. That's where the problem begins. It's the flood of these overwhelming emotions that hurt us. Now, when you're flooded, you can't think straight. You can't immediately start to process things and to bring better solutions. You just have so many emotions going through you that it's just an environmental problem that's becoming more of your reality. I got to ask you, what is your anger trying to tell you? Are you being violated? Are you being hurt? Are you sad? Is a boundary crossed? I heard this quote from the Gottman book, and it said to always come towards things with curiosity. And how does that help? When we come towards something with judgment, we begin to assume, we begin to hurt, we begin to find ways to attack. When we come with curiosity, like, I wonder why I'm feeling this way. I wonder how it got this heated. Where did the boundary get crossed? These are great questions to ask yourself in those moments to really help not only understand what you're feeling, but this gives you a perfect moment to pause and to take a break. Now, I've been in plenty of situations where I have gone over the edge and I have hurt people's feelings. I think we never really want to hurt people, right? Like when we feel angry, I mean, it all depends, right? What the situation is, but most of the time we don't want to hurt anybody. We just want to be heard. We want people to understand us. And when we're angry, it's like shouting at a wall. Like, we become defensive. We stop trying to process and look at the other side and see what they're saying. We just bring up our walls to protect us. Now, going on the defense is pretty normal, right? Like, a lot of us do get defensive, especially when we're being attacked. That's normal. Now, when you come towards things with curiosity, the defense comes down. There is no defensive wall. When you use statements like you, it ends up attacking someone. But when you use statements like I feel, this allows us to address our feelings without attacking. So a really good way that Gottman, again, explained is I feel and I need statements. Now, I feel and I need statements are focused to basically taking the fire that you're feeling and putting it on ice. So when you're talking to someone, again, I know this sounds crazy and I know that this isn't something that you can just magically start doing and becoming great at it. It's something that you need to practice, and I always recommend practicing with yourself. So let's start. I feel hurt when you stepped on my toe and I need an apology. This is I feel and I need statement. I feel an emotion, but what happened? And then what do you need? I know a lot of people, when I ask them, what do you need in this moment? A lot of us respond with, I don't know. And now there's nothing wrong with that. Not knowing what you need is pretty normal because sometimes we need to process the feelings that we're going through. We need to go and think and understand and reflect. It's like going back on the cassette tape and then rewinding and then pressing start again. Sometimes we just need to watch or play it through our heads a couple times to really figure out, what do we need? Do we need an apology? Do we need a hug? Do we need physical touch? Do we need an affirmation? Do we need reassurance? All of this is something that we can figure out and answer without yelling and without assumptions and without judgment. This allows us to become more in tune with who we are, and not only that, but in tune with our emotions. I get it. Emotions are tough. You feel so much. I've been in moments where everything feels red. You know, like all you see is red. And that's when you know you've gone over the edge, because you start to say things that you really don't mean and you really don't want to say. So then we figure out how to address these moments with pausing, mindfulness, I feel and I need statements, and understand where your emotions are in your body. Are you feeling it in your head? Are you feeling it in your chest? Where is this emotion coming from? And then we address it. Sometimes, and honestly, a lot of fights can't be addressed right there in the argument because a lot of us feel defensive in that moment and we're not ready to talk. Some of us are not ready to go through our emotions and feel them and explain what we're going through. Some of us just need some time, and that's okay. Take the time that you need to figure out what you're feeling and how to address them and what you need. I was doing some research, and in cultural differences in societal norms, there was a study done in West Africa where they went to a village and asked them basic questions and tried to get an understand of their societal norms. And one of the things that they talked about was anger and how they address and talk about anger with children. Now, they expressed to these children that anger is not okay. Anger is something that can hurt this village, and they try to make anger something that we shouldn't be feeling. Now, I don't agree with the research, right? Because I personally believe that our emotions are something that we all need to address. We can't just allow our emotions to run free because we need to be able to not control them, but to be one with our emotions. And this is where mindfulness, again, plays such an important factor of being in the present moment. I have struggled with mindfulness my entire life. I am not the best person when it comes to mindfulness, but I do practice it. I do my best to be in the present moment as much as I can and be able to address my anger correctly. Now, I don't believe that we shouldn't be telling our children that they shouldn't be feeling anger and it's not correct to be angry. I believe that when it comes to anger, it's something that we need to sit and have the person go through and understand when they become angry, how they become angry, why they've become angry. These are signs and ways to truly address what you're feeling. I had talked to one of the therapists at our practice and basically asked them, like, how do we manage or handle anger? And his response was, you need to take that anger and do something good with it. If you take anger is a powerful emotion. It brings a lot of energy with it. Now, if you can readdress that energy and put it towards something that benefits you or gives a better feeling to you, like a positive thing, this allows anger to dissipate. Less about hurting and more about helping. Use your anger correctly. Now, it's not going to be something you're going to be able to address immediately. I've hurt a lot of relationships and I've hurt a lot of people because of my anger. And it's not something I can sit here and say that I'm proud of. Am I a work in progress? Yes. Am I human? Yes. Do I get angry? Yes. It's not about the anger. It's about how we can take a pause and take a break. That's how we handle anger. That's how we can manage it. Breathing techniques is another great way to figure out how to stop yourself in that moment. It didn't work for me, but it does work for a lot of people. Count back from 10 and then start. Or even if you need longer, that's perfectly okay. Address your anger and ask yourself, hey, am I getting angry more than I've ever have? Do my friends think that I'm angry? Have I hurt my relationships because of I'm angry? What is my anger even trying to tell me? And the biggest question that I always say, when do I seek help? When do I know that it's time for me to get the help that I need? Here are some answers to whether you think you need to seek help. Are you hurting your relationships? Do you fear that you're losing control? Are you using substances to manage your anger? And do my friends or my family members think that my anger is something that's hurting me? Not hurting them, but hurting yourself. When we get angry and we get irritated, that's when we become the problem. That's when the emotion takes over. Now, a lot of people understand that when anger happens, it could be because of sadness, but a lot of the times anger is because of irritation. We become irritated, we become frustrated, we become so in our heads that we end up allowing it to grow bigger and feed into the anger. Irritation is something that you need to take seriously. I know when I feel irritated, it feels like I've got a knot in my head, and everything I do to try to unwind this knot, it's not helping. That's when I know I'm irritated. Find ways to figure out, hey, am I feeling okay? Like, I know, and it's okay to ask yourself these questions. You can ask, am I irritated right now? Okay, but what am I irritated at? What am I feeling? That's a great question to help manage your anger. What am I feeling right now? And that's the question that I want to ask you is, if you could control your anger and if you could manage it, would you be happier? Would you be able to not hurt your relationships? Would you be able to take breaks and take pauses? Is this something that you could do? If your answer is yes, then you are on the right track to managing your anger. Self-awareness is one of the most key aspects to mental health. We need to understand within ourselves what's going on. And if you can do that, I promise you, you are taking the steps forward to not only understanding yourself, but to understanding your emotions. Now, as I sit here and explain to you anger and how to feel and what to feel and why am I feeling this way, I want to give you some encouragement. Manage your anger doesn't mean suppressing it. It means choosing what to do with it. And you are the only person who can figure out what to do with it. Maybe pausing doesn't work for you. Maybe breathing doesn't work for you. But as long as you keep trying and you keep figuring out what to do and how to handle your anger or manage it, you are taking the steps forward to becoming the best version of yourself. And I'm truly so proud of you for doing that. You know, I sometimes don't think we get enough encouragement or give a good clap for ourselves because we don't see the achievements that we're achieving. You know, if you're listening to this episode and trying to figure out how to manage your anger, then you need to clap and be proud of yourself for taking the step forward. There's a lot of people who never address their anger. They never figure out how to manage it, and it ends up hurting them in the long run. And you being self-aware, understanding who you are doing everything that you can to becoming the best version of yourself. And I'm right here in your corner, letting you know that I'm clapping for you. And I want to let you know that you're not alone. Whatever you're feeling, whatever you're going through, you've got this. It's believing in who you are and believing that you can become that person. Have faith within yourself, and I promise you, you're going to get there. So I just want to remind you, please, please, please remember, you're not alone, and I can't wait to catch you on the next episode. Bye.